Elma charges up with his half-dead savage dragon skill as he acknowledges that Kalos might know about the inner workings of the world more than the Nables. Unfortunately, Kalos easily stops him, mocking to know about his technique that doubles the user attack power and skill, and that this measly skill is not enough to stop him. However, unbeknownst to him, Luz also appears with Dice Thrust attack, which he narrowly blocks, and praises her for having a technique that multiplies the attack power, admitting that Elma is not the only one capable here. Kalos then dodges an arrow like it's nothing, calling it a cheap attack until Celt sneaks into an assassin attack, which Kalos obviously dodges easily but gets humiliated when Celt landed a kick on his face. After showing that Luz and Elma aren't the only ones strong here, he tells the team they could take on Kalos if they work together. Elma then tells Luz to attack from his blind side as he will fight face to face, calling it an enraged dragon and Grim Reaper pincer attack, and exchange some blows as Celt provides his support as well. It was all fun and games when Kalos determined to ensure at least one of their party members falls. Kalos then attacks with Crimson Wave. Seeing this, Elma tells everyone to get back. Kalos then rushes to attack Elma, saying that he is going to die first. Kalos then attacks with his Dark Blaze power, but fortunately Elma does it and straight rushes to attack Kalos while the 3 fire cannons follow him, but Elma does a backflip like Speed. This shocks Kalos, but he dodges. However, just when he lands, Elma stops him through a Shadow Stomp and Strike, but as expected he blocks his strikes. After going back and forth a bit, Elma was able to take Kalos to his knees. Seeing this, Kalos mocks him, saying if Elma really thinks he can defeat him. That's when Luz sneaks up and attacks with her Dice Thrust, hence sending Kalos flying. After that, Luz and Kalos both can be seen panting, but Luz excitedly says that she is the one who managed to injure Kalos. Luz suddenly noticed that something seems off, that even they're putting their whole efforts, but beating an air rank adventure will be finished with what they are able to muster. That's when Elma tells them that things are moving too smoothly for them. He also noticed that slashes and skills with high attacking power threads, but the reality is that he are lower rank fighters dodging Kalos slices with his parry skill. He also noticed that his fighting style is too poor for someone who has risen to the top despite belonging to an unstable class of magic swordsmen. However, if he assumed that Kalos is in possession of a certain scale, that's when Kalos calls them good for nothing nobles, showing some kind of resentment. Out of frustration, Kalos throws his sword towards Elma as he says the nobles like him he loathes the most. Suddenly, an enchantment appears on Kalos' neck and it transforms into Choker of Agony. Kalos also summons a massive sword named Blackbound Blade Gehenna. Elma just realized that the reason he was not able to see his skills beyond the basic magic and swordsmanship is because magic of swordsman's office style only becomes viable when they have the support of items and weapons. Surprisingly, Kalos' injury also gets healed. That's when Elma realized that his assumption of this world is shattered because it works totally differently. Elma asks Kalos how he got that blade and who taught him that skill, but Kalos seems to end this game. Luz is shocked to see Kalos' wounds healing, to which Elma reveals that it's because of a special skill tree which helps him to reverse the damage poison inflicts Rohil himself. He also goes on to explain that the poison zombie magic swordsman is a character build that was feared in the magic world for its immortality. He even has the necessary equipment for it. It's challenging to think that this resembles what he thinks it does by chance. He fears it is the same type as that of magic worlds. Kalos walks towards Elma, wondering how long he will survive. That's when Celt shoots an arrow which seems to be futile and Kalos' wound heals instantly. Elma thinks that the saving grace of the heavy poison status is that it lowers the inflicted user's speed, but the monstrous ability of the Black Bound Blade are applied on top of Corner Beast Killer's attack power boost. Even Dragonrage Death Gaze alone will lose in sheer power. So in that case, Elma gets ready and jumps on Kalos with no defense spared ability. Elma tells Luz to attack at the same time, then he won't stand a chance against them. Mabel says that she will heal his poison status with her magic, then she should be able to cut him short. Elma tells her don't dare to make a move. Her healing is pointless while he wields that sword. Hearing this, calls Elma clever, but tells him to be vanquished as he attacks with Hydra Break, which breaks Elma's final safeguard, Life Shield. Kalos is furious that Elma survived his attack, but unbeknownst to be Elma is lightly poisoned. Luz attacks with her illusions. Kalos thinks he won't fall for it, but he actually did, and the real Luz attacks from behind with Dragon Slayer Drive. However, Kalos just slaps her away. Elma tells her to not to rush as he will heal of any damage that they inflict, so all they just need to do is land a Dragon Rage and Grim Reaper attack simultaneously. Kalos with furious looks tells Elma that taking him out first is difficult, so he smirks as he attacks Dark Blaze towards Luz. Luz gets angry at Kalos looking down on her as she dodges his fireballs in a way that it hits Kalos himself. Kalos then furiously attacks Luz and accidentally gets in front of a fireball. Kalos then praises them for hanging out so long as he goes for another Crimson Wave. Elma is scared that Luz isn't going to survive it. That's when Celt steps in to help injured Luz. Elma defends himself with his shield while believing that Celt will save Luce. Elma tries to defend them but is shocked to see that Celt became a human shield for Luce. As he drops to his knees apologizing but thankful that Luce is okay for now, Elma tells Mabel to take care of Celt as he rushes to attack Kalos despite his low HP and MP. Elma mocks Kalos for not being much of a challenge for him. This enrages Kalos, who is aware of his slow movements due to the poison, but eventually his cooldown time for Hydra Break will be up, and that's when Elma's time will also be up. Elma stops Kalos and attaches him, but Kalos reminds him that he can heal. Kalos reveals his cooldown is over and says his farewell to Elma. That's when Kalos is hit with an arrow, which makes him laugh and it won't be doing anything to him, but he soon realizes that was an enchanted arrow made with help of Mabel. It is revealed the enchanted arrow allows the caster to shoot an arrow imbued with magic, and the magic that arrow has imbued with was poison protection. Elma thanks Exiled thanks Soledum and says that it's became the originary probable healus that is perfect Brit Onuvaling that once these rang that there certain blossom in his chest there was a possibility that he either had the poison zombie build all one decor resemble laid. It seemed unfeasible following the common knowledge of this world, but since he was also called the Blackened Flame Blade, it reminded me of the Blackbound Blade. Does he reach out to Celt and Mabel to help form the most powerful matter possible, as insurance in the worst-case scenario? He even went as far as telling Mabel how to allocate her skill. He failed to inform them of their true intentions to conceal his own hand, but that is easily used on their own. Watching this, Kalos curses them and gets ambushed by Elma, who stabs through him, hence defeating him once for all. Kalos remembered his early days in a small town by the sea, where he received a divine blessing in a simple old church. He became a magic swordsman, a class known for strong attack power. At the time, he was proud and happy about it, dreaming of becoming a hero. But his dream wasn't about saving people. It was about acting cool and getting praise. He was arrogant and unrealistic. The magic swordsman class often clashes with team goals, and Kalos often fought with his party. The town was poor and people struggled to care for others. After many misunderstandings, Kalos was falsely blamed for theft and lost all his allies. He left his hometown in shame. Trying to start over, he was mocked in the big city for being from the countryside. He failed again and realized he lacked the talent to be an adventurer. He began to hate everyone. Then, someone came and told him he had a rare gift and could become a great hero. Kalos knew these words were often lies, but they still made him happy. So, he believed them. Back in the present, Kalos tries to fight again with a Crimson Wave attack, but Elma cuts off his arm, saying this is his end. The group is excited to have beaten the Black Flame Blade. Celt tells Elma to kill him, but Elma refuses. He says killing Kalos would bring big trouble since Kalos may be linked to powerful people or an organization with dangerous goals. Suddenly, a girl named Held attacks them, angry about what they did to her master. Kalos calls her foolish and tells her he never agreed to be her master. He admits he only pretended to be his past self. In the end, he burns himself with a fireball, refusing to betray the person who once believed in him. As they were leaving, Elma thought that Kalos probably felt a bit guilty. He wasn't clever enough to use the situation to escape on his own. After they defeated Kalos, they headed toward the exit of the dream home, but it felt more like they were being taken out, just like before. Once everyone found out that the mission to defeat the Dream Lord had been called off. Afterwards, Elma apologizes from the three. Elma adds that he was planning on telling them but couldn't get the right moment. However, Mabel and Celt don't mind it but tell him to let them know before next time. He could barely keep up with what he was witnessing when Kalos suddenly whipped out the monster skill. However, Elma cheers him up, saying that they won because of his perfect movements and because of the enchanted arrow. Elma also thanks him for protecting Luce, which he gladly accepts, and calls himself a top-tier scout, but Mabel doesn't let chance of teasing Celt slip. Luce encourages everyone to celebrate their big victory, but Celt asks Elma how much he knew about the raid. Elma expected the worst but was surprised when things went well. Still, he feels the Dream Lord's vanguard might be planning something dangerous they don't yet know about. Elma also remembers what Count Hardin said about Kalos. Kalos had tried to trigger something called Manufactured Zork, a second-stage dream creature, using a tool called the Graveyard Grave. If he had succeeded, it wouldn't have mattered if he was exposed as a traitor. But his plan failed because of the team's actions. To protect himself, Kalos spread rumors that someone from Count Halrod's family was the traitor. He even staged an attack on Snow to support his lies. The attack wasn't meant to kill her, but to make the story believable. Count Hardin, however, had already suspected Kalos long before all this happened. As they walk, Mabel tells them to enjoy a delicious meal and turns towards Hild, who reassures them she doesn't hold any grudge towards them and also thanks them for stopping Kalos. Another day rolls around. The group can be seen again in the submerged city with others finally fighting with the Dream Lord. Snow can also be seen with her soldiers telling them to get held if they get even a bit of injury. Watching this, Luz is surprised how confident and different Snow looks, making Snow a bit shy. Elmo is shocked that Dreamlord is faster than he anticipated. Snow announces everyone to attack. Luz suddenly appears and tells Elma to use his shield bash technique, which causes her to use Dragon Slayer thrust on the Dreamlord, making it unstable for a bit. That's when Snow orders everyone to do a barrage of attacks, hence defeating the Dreamlord. 3 days later, Elma and Luz are invited to Count Hardin Palace for a meal on their great feats against the Dreamlord. Once they are there, Elma says he wanted Mabel and Celt to be here as well, but the invitation does have their names. Suddenly, Isabella and Snow appear. Elma and Luz thank them for invitation that made Snow shy as she tells Isabella to speak instead. Isabella tells them that they both contributed to defeat the Dreamlord while under her command, and she wants to express her gratitude as a member of the Count's household. Elma asks why the future head of the household is guiding them, to which Snow replies that she doesn't like her father's way of treating that much. They finally meet Count Hardin, who is weird as always and tries to talk bad about the Elma household. Count Hardin thanks Elma for defeating Kalos and reveals that he doesn't know anything about if Dreamlord Vanguards is an organization, religion, and some nobles' planning. At that moment, Elma realizes he doesn't know that there's a world that created their world and someone from there is pulling the strings. After a week, Elma can be seen studying more about the Dreamlord's vanguard. That's when he sees many nobles' carriages going towards the Count Hardin Palace. Count Hardin welcomed 3 other nobles named Verum Villis, Hillman Heats, and Azus Edvot. Azus questions why he wants to start a conquest in the Great Forbidden Woods after 3 years when the time is to do it once a decade. Hardin reveals that he was just ordered by Duke Burnett's household. Hardin then goes on to tell about the Dreamlord's vanguards and about the A-rank adventurer who was planning chaos in the forest but soon got defeated by another adventurer. Azus questions that this sounds like its interest is more Hardin than the royals. However, Hardin goes on to explain and mocks Izuz's Edvon household, as his own household has many talented adventurers. Villas are rich through trade and can hire good adventurers. Heat's household have a very talented platoon of knights, and asks what does Edvon household have except their renowned current master, and also remind him of abandoning his own son. This makes Isis angry as he wants to fight in the conquest, but Hardin tells him that Count's only duty is to serve the Blade of Royals. Hardin then declares a war between Dreamlord's vanguard and the Northern Noble. After some days, Elma and Luz go to a very shady place in Lake Cornea, which is considered black market and a casino. Elma expects to get some information about Dreamlord's vanguard, but before this Elma asks Luz to stay behind if she wants to, but Luz tells him she wants to be with, and feels much safer. This makes Elma really happy. Out of nowhere, they see Celt being handed down by 2 guards for not paying the money he lost through gambling. Suddenly, a man named Robik appears claiming to be the owner. Upon asking, Robik tells Elma that the money he owes to the casino is 30 million gold. However, there's another way. He will need to gamble 10 million gold with him, and if Elma wins, he will let Celt go with 10 million gold. Elma refuses to play with him as he knows that people like him can do anything to win the bet. However, Luz steps in telling him she will do a bet with him despite Elma warning she insisted on playing. The game has started. Robik shows his amazing moves which put Elma in suspecting that he might be from bandit class. Robik shuffles the deck and states the rule that they have to pull 3 cards from the deck, and one with the most similarities will win the match. Robik invites Luz to cut the deck, but she denies, making him more interested. It is revealed that pulling a double is 20% and pulling a triple is 0.2%, and surprisingly Luz pulls out a triple, hence winning 10 million gold. Seeing this, Robik challenges her for another match, but in this match she will get to double her money, but there's a catch: she have to pull out an ace. The more ace she pulls, her money will be doubled. Surprisingly, Luz pulls out all 4 aces, hence winning 160 million gold. Robik flabbergasted and calls her a cheater, creating a mess and running with a smoke bomb, but is stopped by Elma.